a game.
For sure. Right.
Oh,
And most people are still working from home if they can.
there's
So,
Azita. Azita's here. Hi, Azita.
Good morning, Betty. Good morning,
Hi,
Anne.
good morning, Azita. How are you? What time is it over there, Azita?
Tadao.
here's Tadao again. Hi, Tadao.
Hello, hello, hello,
There's Tadao. Hi, Tadao.
hello.
Tadao is konnichiwa hello.
Konnichiwa. Yeah, you can use the phrase for daytime.
Oh, okay. Well, it's daytime for me, so konnichiwa.
Yeah.
Not
He's
me.
2 hours later than we are here.
Yeah.
Tadao is 2
Betty-
hours later than Bangkok.
Betty, it's actually, it's 4 in the afternoon here.
What time is it over there, Anne?
4 p.m.
Oh, 4 p.m. Ah.
Ajahn is here. So what, Dika?
Swadika, John.
สวัสดีค่ะทุกคนค่ะ
Swadikap, swadikap.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Sawadika.
Are there some questions to start with? Or comments?
Yeah, let me see. I think I'd like to mention something. In our the last talk we had, that was on one that we just did on Saturday. Before we actually started the discussion, I was talking to Nina, and I was telling her how upsetting the American presidential elections and everything are because of cheating and all this. Okay, and she says, I don't pay attention to that anymore. And you know, it just suddenly hit me. Why should I be? Why should there be paying attention to that when that is just? It's you know, it's just reality. It's just rupa. It's just no, it's not even rupa. It's just panyatis. That's all it is. And it's, you know, why should you be paying? And suddenly, you know, I said, and the thing that's frustrating is that the thought doesn't arise, you know, when you all the time, because we're thinking in terms of, I want it to arise. So because I say I want it to arise, it's not going to arise because it's a gusala already. So this is I think a big, and I asked Nina about that later, and she said, you know, everybody has the same problem. We all have that same problem. And I think that Kanadan, would you say that the I guess you want to call it the cure for the problem is that we need to listen more, read more, study more, pitjarana more, and of course, then there will be conditions. But it's not something where we can say, all right, I must do it. I have to do it. It's not an I doing it. If there are conditions, the thought arises in the mind to read more, or there's a virya to read more or to do more, then okay, yeah. But if it's something where you set a schedule and say, well, I have to do this, then it becomes it's not natural.
I think that there is a thing around one by one, and no understanding of life of that moment of the reality right then at all. That's why when we heard the term or the word Buddha, what is meant, the one who has enlightened the truth, and he taught us everything about what is now. So the point of study the words of the Buddha must be just to understand what is there now. That's why we listen to each word of his teaching and then consider just to that point. No self, no thing. See, only these words just to no self and no thing. But what it's now appearing is something all the time. And there is the I who always think, like or dislike all the time. But the truth is that nothing can be taken to be something permanent at all. It's conditioned to be different, arising and falling away all the time, even right now. When there is the understanding of this so true, the absolute truth. That's why we listen, just to understand what is there now. But it's so very, very difficult, very, very deep to understand that. That's why Buddha taught for 45 years, just to lead the understanding to begin to understand what we are talking about is just that which is now appearing. Otherwise, it's useless. But even he said, nothing is self at all. So what is it? Is there? The understanding of that which is not self is that there's no one who makes it arise at all. But it's there now. So there must be conditions for everything to be there, no matter what. But we don't know what is that. That's why we listen. What is there now? When there is seeing, there is that which is seen. And no one can make it arise at all. It's there already. And the seeing just arise. No one can make it arise, but it's conditioned to arise and be different from that which is seen because it now sees. So what is meant by seeing is the moment of knowing or experience that which there, but not with right understanding of the truth, because that which appears as permanent just arises and falls away in split second all the time, continuously. No one knows, but but when there's listening to the teachings, begin to understand it's right, because even that which is seen is not the seeing right now. So, in order to understand reality right now as it is, we need more word, but there must be the understanding, the truth of each word as it is. Otherwise, it's only just keep on thinking about that all the time, whether what is that is there all the time, what is that which is seen, what is that which says, see? But in life, no one thinks about it at all. But Buddha pointed out what is life? It is this very moment only, and it's conditioned to be different thing. Like seeing is not that which is seen, and sound is not the hearing, and so on. Very, very quickly coming and going away all the time by conditions. This is the only way to have less attachment to the idea of self, or I see, I hear, I think. That's why just listen to understand what is there. Each word brings about the understanding of this moment. And Buddha knew that that's not enough for anyone to just understand instantly the truth of it, until it can be directly experienced of each what he said about now. See, that's why it takes time, Priya and Khanti, and the point is to let go the idea of self, which is wrong view. Because where is the self? Just a moment ago, gone completely. Each one so very rapidly. That's why I just learn to understand little by little, to know more and more through a firmer and firmer, all about just one word. No one there now, no thing at all. At moment of seeing, it's not thinking about shape and form and think that it's something as we thought before all the time. But actually, right now, cannot be seen or understood without the Buddha's words at all. More and more, little by little, be careful to understand that what he said must be absolute truth, and it can be understood little by little until it lead to more understanding from just one word to another word to another word. Like, what is there now? Is it real? Yes, it's real. What is it? No thought about it. That which sees is not that which is seen. No one makes it right or at all. Whatever it is, it's conditioned by its proper condition to arise to be different. Even right now, just a moment ago, it's gone already. See, who can hold it? Who can take it? Who can take it for I? Because it's gone, and the I keep on. The next moment, which is not known, that is not the same one at all. Just once in samsara, what is now appearing so very rapidly. Is this true? Then listen more and understand more, to have less and less attachment to all five khandas, because all of us know about what are the five khandas. What about memory now? Remembrance now? What is there? See, unknown is always there, but no one knows. That's why Buddha pointed out whatever is there at this very moment, to be known little by little until it can be directly experienced, the truth of it as not permanent at all. And this is the point of listening, to understand that which is now appearing, not only word, but by its nature as that which experiences. Just one word, experiences. See, there must be something which is experienced. And usually we just think about that which appears, that which is experienced by who? No one. But the element, the reality which is there by condition to arise. When the conditions are ready, no one can stop its arising at all. But the conditions it to arise, to arise. So Buddha said, whatever arises, fall away. See, as soon as it's conditioned, the condition is all. And then after it has arisen, it falls away, leading to understanding what appears in a day. No choice, no selection to know this or that. All depends on condition. To understand different moment in life as only very temporary, just appears and disappears. Sunyata, anatta, begin to reveal itself as this is the truth of what is there now. Is this true? Can it be known directly now? The moment when it arises and falls away, succeedingly from moment to moment, so very rapidly unknown, all day, all life, from life to life, until hearing the truth of the Buddha's word because of his enlightenment. For us to also begin to understand from his great virtues, his kindness, and his wisdom. So what appears now, see, this is what he said. No one in it, nothing in it. No thought about it. But the question from his to the person who came to see him, is the seeing, is it real? Is it permanent, impermanent? Or is it permanent? See? The same question for us now. So who knows whether there is understanding of that which appears as he taught? Not yet, not yet, not yet, until listen more, understanding more, which will condition moment of direct understanding with direct awareness of what is now appearing as it is. Unexpectedly, that is the meaning of anatta. And it's gone so fast, but what is now appearing is the nimitta, the image of that which now appears. So where's the I? Where's me? Can the seeing be I? It's gone. Can hearing be me? It's gone. Can thinking be I? Impossible. Is there remembrance now? Sanya? Is that person now? Not known until listening to the truth of each moment and understand what appears can be known, but that which does not appear cannot be known. So Panya begins to see or to understand what's it and where's it, when's it, little by little.
Okay, thank you, Ajahn.
And Betty, I'd like to add a comment because I heard your comments on Saturday at the beginning, and I think it's the same for all of us. We're always lost in the fantasy world of politics and demonstrations and worldly problems and issues and disturbed by all this thinking. And usually there's no understanding that it is just a dream world, a fantasy world. So seeing is real, thinking is real, but the politics, the demonstrations, what these people or those people are doing, is just our imagined fantasy world. And when you ask, well, should there be a schedule or should we do this? Very easily it can be the idea of I who would like to arrange things or organize things to have awareness. So when Ajahn says, listen more, it doesn't mean fix this time for awareness.
Right, that's what I was
So it means even whilst, like now I was busy working with some workmen on a flat. So anytime, even then, when one's busy or harassed or thinking about different dramas, the realities, this thinking, this seeing, this hearing, anytime is the time for listening and wise considering. We don't have to fix certain times.
Oh, exactly. This is what I was saying.
So
That it arises by condition, the, let's say, virya or whatever, to do that.
And the kusala virya, kusala kanti. And as Ajahn was just saying, no choice at all about what arises.
Exactly.
And it's not a matter of selecting, I don't want to have this thought and I want to be aware of seeing.
Right.
Because if that kind of thinking arises by conditions, and if there's disturbance and upset, it's just different dharmas arising by conditions that don't belong to me and fall away instantly.
Exactly.
Everyone would like to have different accumulations and just to have kusala arising, but this isn't the path. The path is understanding whatever is conditioned at this moment and understanding the distinction more and more clearly between what is reality now and what is the fantasy world.
Is that when you're in, when there is this seeming involvement in what is arising, the proper thoughts don't arise at that moment, you know, that's the problem.
But even at that time, even when lost in this fantasy thinking about the politics or those bad demonstrators or this or that, understanding can dart in anytime, just like Loba comes in now,
Right,
even
yeah,
while we're discussing Dhamma. So anytime is the time when unexpectedly there can be a little understanding that these are just dharmas, it's just thinking, not my thinking.
And then it doesn't arise, and then when it doesn't happen, and then you have a kusala because, oh, it didn't happen.
So then we can see the strong clinging to self that would like it to be another way. And even then there can be understanding, it's just clinging to self, not liking it, wishing it to be a different way, conditioning the dosa when it's not as we like. So the more understanding there is of reality right now, the more life runs easily and one knows whatever is conditioned, it has to be like that. It can't be any other way. So the schedule for understanding is always this moment, no matter what the crazy thinking, no matter the activity, there's always Dharma now, always. So understanding can arise anytime, but not by trying to have it or trying not to think like that, but just naturally when there are conditions. And it's not my problem or my crazy thinking, because it's just, they're just dharmas. It's just different moments of seeing, different moments of thinking that fall away instantly, nothing to be disturbed about, nothing to hang on to, because that thinking, like the seeing now or the hearing, it's gone instantly.
Yeah.
So the crazy thinking of yesterday's all gone, no point dwelling on it. So always back to this moment.
I know.
It's a good topic to bring up, Betty.
Yeah, thank you. That's why I love these Zoom discussions. They're so wonderful.
So Sarah, what you were saying is that if it's not understanding what appears now, it's just another fantasy world.
Exactly.
It's just like we are having problems with one kind of fantasy world, and then fall prey to another fantasy world again and again, if there's no understanding of what appears.
As soon as we wake up, the fantasies start, and just like when we're dreaming, but it's like just the same during the day. But no matter it's the fantasies about the politicians or the demonstrators or the workmen or the lunch, or it's just lost in the fantasy world all the time, because no understanding of reality at this very moment, seeing now, hearing. And it's not my fantasy world, it's just moments of thinking. So this is what is meant by the conjurer and the magic show. Cheetah is the conjurer and imagines and shows this whole magic show of different dreams and fantasies, but it's just a moment of thinking that's gone instantly, just like seeing is just a moment of seeing and gone instantly. And usually we're lost in this magic show, the fantasy world, but there can be the beginning of understanding that it is just thinking now, just seeing now, just clinging now. So it's not a matter of setting a schedule, but the listening and the considering has to be right now, not by I doing anything and not by I expecting anything, but gradually it begins to infiltrate, so that one gets more and more used to a little more understanding the distinction between what is real and what is the magic show.
I mean, it's a common mistake that we think that our usual thought patterns are a problem, and then we should start to think different. And that's like we're getting on the right track, but actually we are just into another trap. Yeah.
That's just clinging more and more to the idea of self and what I should do and how I can set a schedule and how I can change what arises now, instead of understanding. It's still the idea that I can control, I can make more kusala happen. So it's not understanding what is conditioned at this very moment naturally.
I mean, it's very hard. From what Ajahn was just talking just now, it's very clear that the path is very difficult, and it takes a long time.
Very subtle, like we hear a word like listen more or consider more. So we think, okay, the understanding has to just be during this time of the Zoom session. But what about when one's lost in one's fantasies about the politics or the household problems? What about the listening and considering at those moments about what we have heard so much about? What about the understanding of what the real problems are? Nothing to do with the people out there or the situation out there. It all comes back to the lack of understanding, the clinging, the ignorance at this very moment, no matter where or when. So understanding dharmas as anatta is so very subtle. That's why, as Ajahn said, the Buddha had to talk so long, and why there has to be the right considering again and again. But we can see how it makes life so much more easily that we don't think that the people who have the other political view are our enemy or the bad people, because we understand that each moment of thinking for anyone is conditioned and can't be any other way. So it conditions more understanding and compassion of others as well. Same problems for everyone. Same fantasy thinking for everyone. Good to see you back, Ikaro. Did you have any more questions after Saturday?
No questions at all. I'm just following the discussion now.
For anyone who wasn't here didn't listen on Saturday, Ikaro is from Brazil, is in Brazil.
Yes, Rio de Janeiro.
A friend of ours from DSG, from Rio, yes.
Yes. So for today, I will only listen and follow the topics of the discussion. Right?
But Ikaro, there's no Ikaro, so no Ikaro to do anything. Anything can happen. It's just Dhammas.
Oh yes, indeed. A flux of Dhammas. Yes. So I will apply the listening to the reasonings.
All depending on conditions, each reality, each chitta, each mental factor, depending on conditions at any moment. So what is touched now, Ikaro?
I read your quote about Nimira. It's very clever, very self-explanatory. So nimitta, there is no chain, there is no doubt, there's no chick, only nimitta.
And nimitta of what when touching what we call the cheek?
Yes.
What is touched? Nimitta of what? What is touched?
Hardness.
Hardness.
So that's very interesting philosophical remarks, but not for now. Today I will only follow the discussion.
I'm not very sure what is touched when I touch the cheek, if I'm touching hardness or softness.
So at the moment of touching, is it hard or soft, or we could just say it's tangible object, because no need to work out how hard or how soft. Maybe it's in between, but it's just that tangible object that is touched. Is that right?
Right.
Is there any cheek touched?
No cheek.
So it's just we can say the hardness, but it may be soft hardness. It doesn't matter. It's just that which is touched that's there. And the idea of cheek is the fantasy that it's the cheek that's touched, but actually it's just the softness or the hardness. And who touches that hardness or softness? Who or what touches it?
Who touches or who knows the hardness?
Touches it? You said when I touch the cheek, the hardness, but who touches?
The how you call it, the tangible part of the body, which knows hardness.
And what is the tangible part of the body that knows hardness? What kind of reality is it?
We're not talking about consciousness here. We're talking about rupa, right?
Can rupa touch anything? can Rupa experience anything?
Well, no, Rupa cannot experience.
So it can't be Rupa that touches that hardness. So what touches the hardness?
The consciousness, the how you call it, the physical, tangible, the consciousness which knows tangible object.
Right. So it's the chitta. So it's the bodily consciousness, the chitta, which experiences that hardness or softness which has impinged on the body sense. So no eye that can experience anything, no Rupa that can experience anything. It's just that chitta, the body consciousness, accompanied by 7 cetasikas that touches that body, that tangible object at that moment, and then gone instantly. So only chitta can touch hardness or softness. No ikaro, no roti, no one who can touch it.
Right.
And usually it's just a moment of touching, and then so quickly the ideas about I'm touching my cheek and it's not very soft or it's quite hard or so on. But this is the fantasy world, the world of thinking about what is touched, different from just that moment of experience by the chitta, the body consciousness, which just touches that hardness or softness and then gone.
I was just thinking about delirious thinking, which Ajahn often refers to, even when we're talking in terms of Dhamma concepts. It's often just delirious thinking.
What did you say? I didn't understand what you said.
I'm saying often Ajahn reminds us about delirious thinking, which I think she's reminding us that even when we're talking about Dhamma, we are saying, talking about chitta, cetasika, hardness, softness, etc. Often because when there's no understanding, it's just a lot of words, and we were just referring to fantasy world. I believe this is another example of being lost in fantasy world.
It's the same idea, just lost in stories and fantasies. And like you say, even when talking about Dharma, we can quote all kinds of Pali terms and labels, but it can all be just delirious thinking because, like Ajahn said, not even one word is understood, but we can come out with so many different terms and labels, but without any understanding at this moment.
I mean, even if it's English, not Pali, when we're wondering about whether what's touched is hardness or softness, we're already lost because it's gone and it's not what is appearing.
As soon as there's trying to work it out or trying to examine it, it's not just the reality that's experienced and then gone, as you say.
But I don't think it's a waste of time anyways, because I mean, if we do it the correct way, it will eventually be the condition for understanding the actual reality, right?
And it's really important to consider and understand what it is that is touched now, because otherwise we're so used to thinking of a cheek or a chin or a computer. And so there has to be the beginning of understanding that the only realities that are experienced by touch are heat, cold, hardness, softness, or motion, nothing else at all. And that it's not I or anyone who touches. And it has to be chitta, it cannot be rupa that experiences. So it's important to consider and hear and reflect on these dhammas.
Yeah, I think that question about what touches the In this case, the cheek. We were talking about the cheek, right? The hardness or softness in the cheek. What touches the cheek is a very, I wouldn't say tricky question, but it's a difficult question because we are so used to thinking that it's actually a rupa, which is touching, right? In this case, the finger.
Touching, for example. So when we understand that rupas can never experience anything, they're the realities that cannot experience anything. So it can never be rupa that touches or sees or hears or experiences in any way.
When we talk about touching, we are actually referring to, kind of experiencing. So just like there's an experiencing through the eye door and the ear door, so also is there an experiencing through the body door. And that's what we are referring to when we talk about touching. But touching, from my point of view, can be a little bit misleading because there's experiencing through the body sense all over at the moment. For example, experiencing of temperature, and we don't call that touching. If anything, we say that there's contact. So if the air conditioning is on and we're feeling the blast of the air conditioner, we don't talk about I'm touching the air or the air is touching me. We just talk about an experiencing through the body sense. So it is when the act of touching, the underlying reality there is just an experiencing through the body sense of an object. And so we can forget about actual what is touching what, because the question is consciousness is experiencing what at that moment.
Yeah, in everyday life, we usually, when we use the word touching, we always refer to some part of the body,
yes,
which is touching, right?
Yes.
As you said, you touch me. If you touch me, because you're putting your hand on my body, for example.
Yes, but in fact, as I say, there's contact or there's experiencing through the body sense all the time, whether we conventionally think we're touching anything or not.
Right. Like when we feel, in the case of the wind, we would use the word feel, right? I feel the wind.
Yes, exactly. So again, it's
I think it's
experiencing an object.
Right. I think it makes sense. It makes sense to like think about the words we use in everyday language, because they are in a way conditioning our understanding somehow, right?
Well, I think the person with understanding can still use the conventional language without a misunderstanding, and would still use conventional language because that's a means of communication. But whether in terms of thinking to oneself, the conventional language is used or not, I think is questionable, but we can't change understanding by changing the language that we think in.
Right.
It's probably understanding helps to change the language of thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, I was not talking about changing the language, but questioning, just questioning, like in which ways we use the language, not to change it, but in order to, like to understand that, for example, feeling the wind and touching and somebody touching me is the same sensor.
Underlying reality, realities.
And feeling the wind, actually, it's still just chitta, which experiences the coolness or the motion at that moment, or the softness, and the feeling, the Vedana accompanies every chitta. So there's feeling at each moment. So the way feeling is used conventionally is different from the understanding of Vedana, which accompanies the chitta, which experiences that tangible object at that moment. But like you say, it's just the same, no matter we talk about touching the hardness or feeling the wind in reality is just citta, which experiences the tangible object accompanied by pleasant or unpleasant vedana at that moment and other cetasicas.
Or again, if we are struck by an object, if someone hits me or the door flies open and smacks me in the face, we don't call that touching either. That is being hit by something. But again, it's just body consciousness experiencing hardness or softness or temperature. Same consciousness, same object.
I'd like to bring up that many more mind door processes than sense door processes. And it, like I've always found that really difficult to understand, because we seem to be seeing all the time or hearing all the time. So how is that explained? Maybe Achan could answer. Achan, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Sawadika. I have a comment. Many more mind door processes than sense door processes. Could you talk a little about that, please? That's always confused me a little. It doesn't appear that way.
Can anyone understand this sense door process and the mind door process now?
Well, I know I can't, but I'm sure somebody with very highly developed panya can understand, maybe.
What can be understood right now? What kind of citta? What the way? Or just the reality which is now experiencing an object unknown as it is, because no understanding of what is meant by seeing. When we ask someone what is seeing, is there seeing, they might get some perplex about why do we say or ask about that? See, because is that anyone understands seeing as it is itself? We just keep on talking about seeing. Now there is seeing for sure, but what is that? See, not self. So what is it? Only the moment of experiencing an object. No thought about sensor or mind yet. That's why when there's no understanding of the difference between that which experiences and that which is experienced, no understanding of what is there at all. There is something all the time, and I see at moment of seeing. See, that's why instead of thinking about the difference between the sensor and the minder, which now is there, but even the moment of experiencing directly, is there any idea whether it is sensor or minder? But that is experienced well because there is more understanding of it as just not anything at all. Otherwise, it's something as soon as there is seeing. How fast it is from sensor to minder all the time. No one knows the difference at all. So in the beginning, there should be clear understanding of what is meant by the experiencing. See, without that, there cannot be any word or anything at all appearing, and no idea about whether it's there or not, whether it's conditioned or not at all. But now, what is there now? And Buddha had enlightened the truth, the absolute truth of everything. That's why he taught us about what is there is not a thing or a person or anything at all, but it's there by conditions because no one makes it arise at all. While we are talking, they're seeing many things around. See how fast it is, from sensor to mind with different conditioned moment to like or dislike and so on, and thinking all about that. See, that's why, first of all, one has to be so truthful. Is there more understanding of that which experiences as not self, and that which is seen that is different, quite different, because it cannot experience anything. And the experiencing, what are there? Not only the chief of experiencing, but there is other reality right now. See, like or dislike, remembering, feeling together at that moment, unknown. That's why it's impossible. Just let go the idea of self without any understanding more about that which is now appearing from stage by stage, from learning and panya, right understanding knows that it's just the word, but one begin to understand the meaning of it. But the characteristic of that which is talked about, is not known yet. That's why that person or that moment can be the understanding of the difference between the direct awareness, which means more understanding and clear than before. Clear here has different levels too. For example, do you see what in front of you clearly? See, some would say yes, clear, and some might say clearer. And that thing at that moment, and the thinking at that moment is just about the object, thinking about the object. But the object does not appear as it's there and no more, arising and falling away at all. That's why we learn to understand the worth of the teachings of the Buddha, that it can bring about the understanding of this moment little by little, and from understanding that the understand that it's so far away from what we are talking about now. See, each word must be understood as what is it. For example, problem. I heard the word problem. What is problem? See, no thought about the reality of what we are saying, but thought about the story of that problem. See, so it keeps away from understanding what is now appearing all the time. That's why beginning to understanding that no matter what is there is condition arising and falling away. The truth is that no more, no one, no thing. And this is the absolute truth. Without thinking, considering to understand what is now appearing, it's impossible to understand the words of the Buddha, which represents the truth of each reality as it is. That's why about the question whether this is sense door or mind door, what about the nimitta which appears, to know that who can divide or who can make it appear as it's now appearing, which is not the truth, because the truth is that it's there only for a very short moment, unknown, according to the process through different doorways. There is only one moment of seeing, thinking about it, only one moment of seeing, only one moment of hearing, just one moment. See, how can it be known without the teachings to bring about the understanding of what is meant by now? See, unknown, what's there? Not just that which experiences, but also the condition for each to be there, known or unknown, but not understanding as it is yet. For example, we talk about the feeling. Where is it? Can it arise alone? It has to experience something unpleasant or pleasant. And can it arise to feel without the experiencing, the chief of that which arises just to be the chief of experiencing that object, no other function at all. It cannot like or dislike or remember or whatever. And this is the understanding, the truth of each reality, little by little, from It's different. There is feeling. No one think about that at all. Just talk about many problems and so on. But what is there? What we feel? See, can it arise alone? Or it experiences, but it's not the chief of experiencing. This will bring about the understanding of no self, rather than thinking much about the story and try to find out the sense door and the mind door. Impossible. But they are there one by one moment. So even at moment and understanding that which experiences is not enough as that only. But what about the feeling and the sanya, remembering, and whatever is there together? See, and Buddha taught about what condition that moment to arise. What are they? Each one like passa. See, no one can have any understanding of it at all. If Buddha did taught us to understand the truth that actually nothing can be taken for self. Each moment is different by different realities. And if you want to try to understand the difference between the citta, that which is the chief of experiencing, and the passa, see, like the sense door and the mind door, is it possible? But whatever appears, appears better and better with more and more, not just drinking, but experiencing little by little. And that which is the beginning of experiencing is sati, sampajanya, not just hearing, considering, and understanding. Not enough. That's why panya develops on and on, more and more, until one can understand it so far away, much deeper, more and more subtle than anyone can think about it, because what appears well is only one. How come? See, but that's the teaching of the enlightened one who taught about reality. And what he said after his enlightenment, Dhamma is so very subtle, very deep, very profound, very difficult to understand. And to experience directly is much more understanding than just we are talking about Chitta now experiences with Cetasikas and so on. So we have to understand the reality which now experiences. Impossible to try, but it depends on more listening and careful, wisely considering to understand that one is one, but one which can appear is one nimitta. See, beginning to understand deeper about what is there now. So it's not just the word that you heard. How many cetasikas arise with this citta, and how many cetasikas arise with the other citta? So very fast, very quickly. But learning to understand about no self and beginning to understand that which experiences, it's kept in mind when there's more and more understanding of the truth of it as not self. Otherwise, okay, it's not self, and we talk about other things. See? But what is the reminder kept in mind to condition moment of even thinking about that right now? See? Before we are talking about this, after we have talked about this, what are there? Can there be the moment of thinking about it? That's why it needs not only the Suttamaya Panya, but it has to be Chintamaya Panya as well. Because when we learned, we understood, and then forgot all about it. But how come to just thinking about that which is heard more and more, little by little, to bring about the direct awareness with understanding, but that has developed to be conditioned to have the direct awareness arise with understanding. So now that it seems like there's understanding. Some may say enough, but actually it's not enough as long as it does not condition the moment of direct awareness with understanding of what which is now appearing so natural by conditions. Otherwise, it motivates more and more, clinging, wanting to do this or to understand that all the time. Unknown. That is why the Lopa is so very, very tricky. Who knows it's there now? See, only Panya can begin to know little by little until it's so skillful to condition higher understanding, little by little. So, what do you think about the sense though and the mind though now? At moment of seeing, it seems like they're seeing, but what it's seeing, clothes, table and chair and many things. What do we see?
Well, it's many doorways.
Alternately, all the time, so very fast. So, would you like to find a way to understand the sensor and the minder by yourself, or from understanding better and better until there can be the understanding of the difference between seeing and thinking? So, very close. See, everything is so close, seeing and hearing and thinking. What the way? No need to think about the way, but to understand the different characteristics can be the beginning of understanding that thinking cannot be sensed of. Only that until it appears, and what appears, no, the difference between the sensor and the minder. Vipassana is minder. So what is seen or heard can appear at that moment. And mind though is so dark, what appears as light when they're seeing is so very short there to know that it's that object which is not dark. But sound, even it's dark, but it's different from that which is light for just a very tiny moment through mind law. When there is the understanding of minder, there is the understanding of the difference between the sensor and the minder. So now, what is more, the sensor or the minder processes from moment to moment? See, as it appears, it has to appear as it is only when there is the understanding enough to be Pativeda, which has to be the highly developed of Patipati, which has to be from understanding better and better, intellectual understanding. And this is what is meant by bhavana, that which hasn't happened or occurred at all, can be conditioned from hearing and considering that which is not self at all, whatever is there, no matter when and what. And this is what we mean by Dhamma, Anatta, and Shunyata. So, does the minder appear now?
No, Ajahn.
See? But is there minder?
Yes, there is mind though. There must be.
Can it be directly known, the minder?
Not at this moment, no.
Not now, see?
Not now.
To understanding. Otherwise, what can understand that moment as it is?
Well, there's trying to understand, but that's not understanding. That's the wrong way. But when there's enough,
And what is that which try? See, without understanding. It's me all the time. That's why Buddha taught about the truth of every reality as it is to be known, to condition more understanding of no self, no me, no thing. Just appear and disappear. This is like a dream of fantasy. See?
And Azita, when you say mind doors not appearing now, but thinking is a mind door experience. So if if there's thinking now, thinking in terms of people and things, thinking in terms of the meaning of what's being spoken, then what is appearing is mind door activity rather than the sense door activity. Could we say that?
Yes, yes.
Like earlier when we were talking about all the fantasy thinking, this is all mind door activity with brief moments of seeing, brief moments of sense door experience in between, but long stories through countless mind door processes to form up all these different ideas of people and things and politics and so on. So much mind door activity, just such brief moments of seeing, brief moments of hearing, followed by so much thinking about different ideas, different stories, the dark world all the time.
So in other words, in our daily life, it's almost all mind door activity rather than the sense door experiencings don't appear as such.
Or even in this discussion, Azita, we're here sitting in front of our screens, and even thinking about screen is just thinking. There's thinking about what's seen based on what's seen, like what you're looking at the screen and thinking about different people or hearing the words and thinking about the words. But there's also considering the words, and not just after you see me, you probably there may be moments you're thinking about meeting me in Bangkok and all that. So many things. So it's not just a thinking about what's seen now, but also a lot of thinking based on past experiences. And like I said, when you hear the words, you're considering the words. So it's not just thinking about what's just heard, but also thinking a lot about the meaning and all that. And that's all mind door activity.
Yes, thank you.
Lost in all the mind door concepts all the time, most of the day, most of the night. Yeah,
and it
just
seems
brief moments of seeing and hearing in between.
It seems a lot more at the moment because I'm moving house and packing, and it just seems like there's a lot more objects to think about.
So lots of mind door activity, no matter whether it's the world of politics in Betty's case, or the world of house moving, or the world of renovations. It's just all the fantasy thinking almost all the time. Just brief moments of seeing and hearing, and so much thinking, so much mind door activity.
Occasionally, I will remind myself, look, it's just a visible object, and in that moment, it's a little bit calming, but of course it doesn't last and it's just me. But it is, I think having listened to the Dhamma for so long, it is comforting, even if it's just on that really intellectual level, that the reminders, and they're very, very beneficial.
But we have to be careful that when we remind ourselves that it's just visible object, that we're not referring to a concept. Because now I see your image on the screen, and if I say, well, that's just visible object, well, no, because that's a concept that's being thought about. So the just visible object doesn't actually appear as such.
And yes, we can be more understanding about the accumulations at this very moment, the accumulations for proliferation and for complicating and thinking this way and that way, all by accumulated tendencies. Each moment of lobha, each moment of ignorance is the accumulated tendency right now. So we think it's the moving, or we think it's the demonstrators, or we think it's the renovations, but it's actually the accumulated tendency from moment to moment. And most of that accumulated tendency, the accumulated thinking, is all through the mind door. Just brief moments through the sense doors, but mostly through the mind doors.
And we can say that the underlying reality that is being thought about and conceptualized in terms of people or things is just visible object. But we can't say that what is appearing at the present moment before what we think we're seeing is just visible object, because that's a concept, a product of thinking.
Yes,
I get the
the self comes in so quickly and so often, and it's so long accumulated that
That's right. It's habitual.
it is a muddle until there is some some understanding. So these talks have been wonderful. Thank
And
you.
even for the enlightened being, as we know, that the habit to conceptualize continues, and the Sotapanna who has eradicated all wrong view is still having the notion of people and things arising, and is able to identify different people and objects immediately without having to think about it in any deliberate way. It all happens instantly and automatically by habit, but without wrong view.
John, thanks for bringing that up, because I was just having a question for Achan about something along this line. Achan, I understand that normally, as Azita was asking in the beginning, that why is it's said that it seems that the sense door covers the mind door, and then when you were explaining to her, and you brought up that when it's the first vipassana yana, that's when it becomes clear about the difference between mind door and sense door. So I was wondering, John was referring to a Sotapanna, whether that knowledge about the difference between mind door and sense door is just what happens when Panya arises to know that, and then otherwise after that, it seems like normal. The sense door covers the mind door, because the thinking is thinking about what's experienced through the senses, even for Sotapanna.
So, what's the nature or what's the truth of understanding the moment when it's through sensor process or the mind process?
I mean, whatever is the object of Panya, that's what's understood.
Only Buddha, or also his disciple like Arahata and Anagami and Sakatagami and Sotapanna as well.
So yes, so a Sotapanna has no more wrong understanding about what's sense or what's mind or.
Yeah. What about Arya Satya? Is it true only to Arahata, not Anagami, Sakatagami, and Sotapanna?
Right. So it is true for the Aryas, all Aryas.
So what is the problem?
Right. I was just, I forgot that when what appears now, it will be right understanding of what appears, and no more wrong understanding.
And what is that which is vipassana yana?
It's a right understanding of what appears.
Arising and falling away too?
Yes.
like now. But Panjan is different.
Yes,
That's all.
yes.
When it's said that the sense door covers the mind door now, like Azita said, it seems that there is seeing all the time or visible object appears all the time. And that's because it's the idea of something. It's not the understanding of just visible object, which is seen, just that reality, which is seen for an instant and then gone. And the thinking about what is seen is taken for being idle. The idea of seeing someone is taken for being the object of seeing. So what is seen seems to cover the mind doors. So it seems that there's more seeing, or what is seen lasts longer, but that's because of not understanding what is seen right now, and not understanding that thinking about the idea is different. So it seems that it's light all the time because no understanding of just that which appears at this moment. So the object of understanding is exactly the same. It's just the understanding that develops to understand more and more clearly the reality which appears through the eye door, the reality that appears through the mind door. But when visible object is known, no kind of thought or idea about whether it's known through eye door or mind door. So that was why Jan was saying earlier, no need to think about, is it eye door, is it mind door, because visible object is just visible object, just that reality which appears.
So what you're saying is that this idea of sense door covering mind door is actually because of wrong understanding.
Because of ignorance, not understanding what is seen at this moment as just that which is visible. So that's why it seems that we see all day, or see much more than experience through the mind door, because that which is seen is not understood, and the seeing itself is not understood. It seems that I can see for 5 minutes or half an hour, because the reality of seeing, which just sees and falls away instantly, isn't understood. So what is seen is not understood, and the seeing is not understood. So that's why it seems that the sense doors, why the sense doors cover up all the time. So when the realities are understood more and more clearly, then it becomes more apparent what is sense door, what is mind door, and why there has to be more mind door experiencing. So it all comes back to the understanding of what is seen now, what is heard now, the thinking now, the different realities. That's the only way that any doubts or misunderstandings can ever be cleared up. Like while there's the idea that I can touch something or I can touch cheek, it seems that it's all sense door experience. And it seems to be the world of my experience or my difficulties or my problems. But when there's more understanding that it's just a moment of experiencing, a moment of touching, and just hardness that's touched for an instant, then it becomes more apparent that it doesn't last at all, because there's no cheek there, no body there, no person there. So this is why we always have to come back and talk about the realities at this very moment, because it's the only way that there can be any understanding of what sense door is, what mind door is, what life is, and how all these dhammas are anatta now.
Jonathan, may I just ask you something about, you just talked about the habit of conceptualizing. Is that supported by a nimitta of thinking? I mean, there's a question around, is there a nimitta of thinking, or is it because of the nimitta that follows all the sense door experiences?
I'm not sure that nimitta plays a role really, because it's just the way the mind is. And there was a sutra in which the Buddha gave the example of the monkey swinging through the forest from one branch to the other. And this is supposed to represent the consciousness experiencing objects through the different sense doors in turn, and the mind door in between. And it's just the nature of the mind or consciousness that there is a lot of mind door processing of the individual experiences through the different sense doors, as we've been discussing.
So that the habit of conceptualizing is conditioned by the nimitta that follows sense experience, that there is not something that I suppose replicates that at the level of thinking. Is that it?
Why do you say the nimitta that follows? Because why not just say conditioned by sense door experiencings?
Because, well, for example, with visible object, we immediately think about what is being seen, but we think about people and things,
yes,
because the after image of the visible object, the continuity, I suppose, the illusion of continuity contributes to that habit of conceptualization that you referred to. Is that
well, it just in the sense that the mind door cannot experience the rupa while it's being experienced in the sense door, and by the time the sense door process is over, the object has fallen away. So then it is the nimitta of that object that is experienced by the mind door at the beginning, and then it's after that it's just thinking about something that's already fallen away. But to me, it muddies the water a little bit to say it's because of the nimitta effect, and I just think of the thinking that follows the sense door experiencing as such.
I see what you're saying, and that actually clarifies, because that I think that was my my question was around why is there such a like a continuous conceptualizing that, as you said, we live in this conceptualized world, and it simply occurred to me that was just another strand in the, I suppose, all the conditions that contribute to wrong view and ignorance, etc. But I think you've clarified that for me.
Yeah, and we were discussing it, even when wrong view has been eradicated, there's still the same conceptualizing going on. You know, I mean, there's bound to be some difference, I suppose, but the mind is of that nature to experience through different doorways, sense doorways, and then to think about what has been experienced, so that there's immediately the recognition of what is being seen, not having to think about it.
So, John, I mean, commonly commonly we think when we hear about the monkey mind, we think about in terms of a long story about thinking about different things. But what you just said, it seems that the real meaning is that it's just from the sense door to the mind door. Is that the meaning?
Turn, yes. All the different sense doors in turn and the mind door in between each. That's the, in the sutta, the meaning of the monkey mind.
Countless mind door in between.
There's nothing in the sutta about taming the monkey mind, for example. As some people, one hears about that, right? One hears people talk about taming the monkey mind. That is not part of that sutta at all.
It's actually pointing to the momentary nature of citta and how citta experiences a different object at each moment. One moment it's experiencing visible object, next moment it's experiencing the sign of that visible object, next moment the idea. So the citta experiencing different objects moment to moment, like a monkey jumping from branch to branch. No citta lasting for an instant. Different citta, different experience at each moment. And the ideas, the fantasies, the concepts, the thinking that's accumulated according to different habits. So for some person, there's a habit of thinking a lot about one thing, and for someone else, a lot about something else. So each moment of thinking, each habitual tendency, each moment of thinking with attachment, it's conditioned by that accumulated tendency, natural dependence, natural decisive support, condition, accumulated over aeons, even from first, even identical twins at the beginning of life, think in different ways, have different objects of attachment, different ways of remembering and marking what's experienced, all by those habitual tendencies that have been accumulated on and on and on. So that's why it's so useless to think that I don't want to think about this object or have this tendency, because that tendency is accumulated. It can't be any other way, but there can be understanding anytime. It's just thinking, no matter what's thought about. Just like it's just seeing, no matter what's seen. It's just hearing, no matter what's heard.
So the problem, if we can talk about it this way, is not the conceptualizing, but the imputing of reality to what is being conceptualized about. And it's the imputing of the reality that is the wrong view that needs to be eradicated, not the forming of concepts about things.
The wrong taking of those, the idea of something or someone that is experienced or thought about.
Yes, and when we think about it like that, it just becomes a little clearer how really nothing can be done.
Right. Not for a moment.
That it is very nature of
the nature
mind.
And the mind.
Yes, that this is how it is, and all the ideas about trying to find a way around this are really a waste of time.
The mind trying to not have that thinking. This is the wrong view and the wrong practice. Yes.
That's trying to tame the monkey mind.
Yeah.
That's the wrong idea, the wrong understanding, because it's not the understanding and detachment from what is conditioned at this very moment.
And there's also the widely held view that thinking about the future or the past is to be discouraged and somehow overcome, but not at all, because it's not a question of changing the thinking about the past or the future. It's a question of understanding the true nature of present moment reality.
Again, that would be trying to tame the monkey mind, right? I heard that before. I think in Chinese or Japanese Buddhism. I wonder where they got it from.
Probably watching monkeys.
Yeah, I mean, watching monkeys, they got this thing about the mind changing all the time. But the part about taming the monkey mind, I don't think you can tame a monkey in that way.
They have the idea that because the mind is jumping all the time like a monkey, that somehow that jumping should be stopped so that it just focuses on one object and doesn't move around. But that's not understanding the nature of chitta, which arises and falls away each instant, no matter there's any understanding or no understanding. Chitta can never last for more than a moment and always experiences a different object.
It would seem
Trying
that
to tame the monkey, trying to
That's-
tame the monkey would be like to make the monkey into something else, right? Which is not a monkey anymore.
it's the idea of being able to control the monkey, the idea of self.
Yes, always. Whenever there's an idea of control or suppressing or calming or changing or doing anything or setting a schedule, it's always the idea of self, trying to make it different from what it is at this moment, not the opposite of understanding. So this is why it's the wrong path and the greatest hindrance to the development of understanding of dhammas now as anatta.
A moment ago, when Asita said that that sometimes when she reflects on Dhamma, she gets some calmness or something, and somehow I got the impression or the idea, maybe it's a wrong idea, but I somehow thought that part of her intention of reflecting on the Dhamma was to make her experience less agitated. That's what I thought.
Well, I think what Azita was just referring to is that when there's wise reflection, there's calm.
For a moment.
That's
Do you have anything to add, Azita? I think his was a question to you.
Sorry, I was a bit I'm trying to record and something's gone wrong. Never mind. Anyway, what was the question?
it was not really a question. It was just that I when you were talking a moment ago about that you're having difficulty now, that you're moving, you're changing home or something, but sometimes when you reflect on Dhamma, you get a bit of calmness, right? I got the impression that maybe you had there was an intention somewhere of wanting to reflect on Dhamma in order to get some calmness.
That's a possibility. I'm not sure. It could quite possibly be that, yes. Yeah.
Right. That's always a possibility, I think, in all of us.
Most definitely, yeah.
Moments of wise considering with calmness and then clinging to calmness, wishing to have more calmness. So the wrong practice can creep in anytime, even in the middle of Dhamma discussion, anytime at all.
Right.
Sarah, is Ajahn still there?
Jan, are you still there?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Oh, Ajahn, hello. I wonder if I may ask you a question about the Buddha's compassion, because listening to the discussion and also reflecting on my own experience and thinking, that idea of difficulty and problems often arise. And so I found myself sort of thinking about how the Buddha, when he decided to teach, hesitated because he knew how difficult and how subtle, well, no, I don't want to use the word difficult, how subtle and deep the teachings were. However, he still proceeded. He made the decision to proceed to teach. And given his infinite compassion, I actually believe that embedded in the teachings is something that enables that experience of the compassion to help and support the development of understanding. But I would like you to actually comment on that, if you would. So how does compassion, the Buddha's compassion, affect the understanding of the teachings?
Shall we
Long
start
question.
with what is compassion?
It's the understanding of another's suffering.
Is it
The
real?
truth of another.
Is it
Pardon?
I or you or anyone? Or what is it?
No, it's it's a statistic that arises and sees the suffering nature, understands the suffering nature of another being.
When it does not arise, can you know it? As you know that it's not me.
Can we know compassion if it does not arise? No.
It does not arise, when it does not appear, when it's not there, can we know it?
No.
But what about the moment when it's there? See, there must be a moment which is there, which compassion is there when it arises, for sure, right? But no understanding of it, even it's there. There's sympathy and understanding the other's trouble. See, it's there. What about the moment when someone sees such a situation and there is no compassion at all? And for some, why are there? See, that's why it's a reality and it can be understood at moment when it's there to know, even we don't use any word at all, but it's there, see. Anyone who hasn't heard about the word compassion as a teaching as no self, understand that the difference between with compassion or without compassion, see. So the characteristic of compassion is there to be known, but not as I. It's conditioned by some has compassion and some doesn't have compassion at all. See, it's a reality which is conditioned different from other moment without compassion. So it's beyond word to say what is it. But when it's there, no one can change it. But the understanding of it as not self is not there. Just to know that, oh, that is compassion. It's not necessary to use any word when it's there. The understanding of that moment can be known because it's different from other moment without compassion. Is that right? So to ask about compassion, when it's there, it's known as it is different from other reality, but no one there at all. Different accumulation, different habits, different upanisya pajaya. When it's hot, Do you ask about the characteristic of hot when hot is not there? But when hot, heat is there, no word, and it's known as a reality which is that, depending on what words you use, anyone used to represent it, as it is that which is hot, a characteristic. Even someone doesn't say at all that it's hot, but hotness of heat is there already, to be known as not at the moment when it's cold. So the point is that whatever is there must be there by conditions, kindness, compassion, or cruelty, or whatever it is there, but no understanding of the truth that is conditioned to arise to be there by conditions. People are different by conditions, accumulation, differently all the time. That's why beginning to understand the truth, whatever is there is real, is conditioned. Before that, it hasn't risen yet. No one can make it rise, but it's there. So the best thing is to understand the truth as not self at all. Otherwise, the idea of self follows each life from now on and on and on and on. That's why when we think, do we have to say the word compassion? Or is there the moment of understanding the other's trouble and the moment which doesn't care the feeling of others at all? See, different moments. All are different. And only once in samsara, see, not more at all. Only that. When we talk about anything, there can be clear understanding of the word, of the reality which that word represents. For example, like, see, it's there almost all the time in a day. Shall we ask about the moment when it arises that whether it's like? No, impossible, because the characteristics of lopa is there. Even we don't use any term, or if we use different term, it doesn't change its nature. No matter we say like, love, or whatever. See, it's that characteristic which, depending on degrees, at that moment when it's conditioned to be only such in a moment, in samsara. See, it's closer to the understanding of no one and nothing. Otherwise, it is compassion. See, he or she has compassion, or what is it? And what is nimitta? Is compassion also nimitta of a reality which has the nature of thinking about the other's trouble, understanding, sympathize, and so on. See, different moments at a time. And if we understand the word nimitta, are there now nimitta? From moment to moment. See, that is the which hinder the understanding of the reality of that nimitta. Its nature is not known as long as we are attached to nimitta. But without the absolute realities, can there be any nimitta? So the understanding of what nimitta is, the truth of that nimitta, can be known. Because without that truth, there cannot be any nimitta like that. So we are in the world of nimitta. No matter what we think about, what is it? The truth of it, the nature of it, the reality of it is hidden because of the nimitta. That's why there should be the understanding of the nimitta is only the image of that which is there, arising and falling away, unknown as it is. It appears as nimitta. Look around. The you are in the nimitta. Whatever is experienced appear is nimitta. And this is to understand how much ignorance is there from moment to moment, from life to life, from eon to eons. That's why beginning to understand the absolute truth as not self and understand whatever is there as it is. But no one can have such moment without the understanding of each word of the Buddha, which condition moment of thinking, even that which is not heard, but has heard it before, to understand even that. That's why it has developed from stage to stage. Understanding, no one, no thing, what is there. That which can experience and that which cannot experience. Even that which can experience so deep, we keep on talking about it, but it now experiences all the time. From moment to moment, it's there, unknown, that no one there at all. Only even when it's there to be studied, to begin to understand its nature, it's still nimitta, until the truth of it appear or revealed by the developed panya, from intellectual understanding to direct awareness with understanding, which has accumulated enough to condition such moments. So whatever we're talking about is in darkness, not understanding. It's just like a dream about this and that, not not the time to wake up yet. And no one can wake, only the word of the Buddha, the awakened one, to understand what's meant by to be awake or sleep.
Mm.
Where are we now? The world of nimitta, not awakened yet to know the truth. But we learn from in darkness, heard from the sound in darkness, or what is heard in darkness, all in darkness now, until Panya develops. The truth of what is there begins to appear well, little by little. So long time for it to appear, which is vipassana jnana, see. No doubt about that which experiences and that which is experienced. That is the beginning to realize the nature of Nama and the nature of Rupa.
So, Ajahn, thinking about the Buddha's compassion, can we say that it was manifested in his gift of the means by which understanding can develop, so that that waking up can eventually be experienced?
So, if there is no understanding at all, can we understand Buddha as Buddha? So it's compared in the commentary that the body of the Buddha is each word of his teaching. When we see something, we cannot know who's that person at all. So when we heard the term, the word Buddha, we cannot understand, cannot see. But from each of his words, we can understand the virtues of the Buddha, his great wisdom. See, people are in the world of nimitta, but he enlightened the truth of what is there not the nimitta, as something, but the nature of it cannot be changed at all, cannot be known by just thinking about it, but by hearing again and again about no one and no self. Lopa is lopa. It's conditioned to arise, so very rapidly fall away, instantly, sunyata, never to be found, never to arise again. See, so where's the I? Each moment there is the idea of self. So each moment is the wrong understanding of that which appears as something for self. And when we say dukkha, see, it seems like everyone knows about the Four Noble Truths, but that is not what he meant by dukkha. But that which cannot be controlled, arises and falls away, never be found or arise again at all. And we cling to that so much, and we'd like to have it again and again, more and more life, more world, more seeing, more hearing, more thinking. See, so when it's not like you like it to be permanent, but it's not, just gone completely. See, when there is the understanding of this, it has to be from experiencing the truth, as each reality is not permanent at all. And the characteristic, what we say, nama or rupa, is known by its characteristic, no matter what we call it or not. And at moment of understanding, there's no word because it experiences the truth. No need to use, like seeing now, we don't have to say, I see, or can see, see, because it's there, it's known, that it cannot be changed to anything else. And this is so daily, in daily life. If there's no understanding of reality in daily life, there's no way to eradicate the idea of self because there is doubt, there is attachment, there is ignorance unknown all the time, which are conditions for whatever appears now. So does anyone experience the dukkha of whatever is now dukkha, the arising and falling away of what is now appearing? It can be known, directly known, but not now, until panya, understanding, develop. And at moment of understanding, it let go, little by little, the clinging to that which is not known as it is, not permanent, not belong to anyone, because it's gone, arising and falling away. And this is the meaning of world, the world. Without the experiencing the Dhamma, there's no world. So whatever arises is the world, known by Panya, which is not I, not permanent at all. What we are seeing now, that is gone from moment to moment. But the arising of the next one hide, conceal the truth of that which is gone. That it's not this one now, different ones all the time. How much ignorance is there? But the word of the truth from the Buddha enlightenment conditioned the understanding after considering and understanding firmer and firmer, little by little, as Parami, Satya Parami, and Adidana Parami, and Nekama Parami, Viriya Parami, and Kanti Parami. At this moment of understanding, it is Parami, when there is the understanding that the point is to understand the truth, to let go wrong view and ignorance. So what is there when it's there? It can be known, its characteristic, but not the truth of it, which arises and falls away by conditions. So it's not yet the understanding, experiencing the truth of it yet. But since it's so rare, so true, it can be known, but not by ignorance, but by understanding the truth firmer and firmer. For example, now, does hardness appear well? See, just one word, it's gone before there can be understanding of it, because of no direct awareness of its characteristic, because not hearing the truth that it's not a table, a chair, it's only hardness. And the thinking about the shape and form which the arising and fall away so rapidly of a reality condition such moment of thinking of that shape and form, not understanding the truth of it.
Acha,
Oh, sorry, Sir King. May I just one question to Ajahn, or a comment actually, Ajahn, while you were speaking, I mean, you are teaching us the truth of the Dhamma, but even in the short time of listening, so many other thoughts arise that, you know, I found myself thinking that I really want to listen carefully to what you were saying. And the mind was, that, as we said before, just like the monkey swinging onto something else, and you know, something, and then I would look, and so many things, even while the truth of the Dharma is being spoken, and so many other moments are arising at that time. It made me think about how when the Dharma is not being heard, how much more frequent that is. So, yes, but there must be some recollection. Otherwise, there would not be some inclination to listen again. And maybe that is enough.
It's a memory.
Yeah, there is memory. Yes.
Memory of what is heard.
Yes.
Right? As no self, what is now appearing is gone. It can condition moment of considering of the word of the truth of that, even it does not appear as it is yet, but it begins not forget to understand the truth that it's there just for a moment, very shortly.
Yes.
See, right now, see, can it be a condition to think about that as it is, as no more? What is seen now is gone. And we can say that when there is thinking, which is not seeing, that seeing is gone. But actually, even right now, so how much ignorance not to attend to the truth of what is there now, but thinking about other things all day. See? So there are conditions enough to even think carefully on and on, little by little, about the truth that no I who is speaking. See, no one at all. No one at all. not just the word, but the truth is that actually whatever appears gone all the time. Is it does it not bring about a moment of detachment from ignorance and clinging to that? No matter what it's like, it's gone. Panya knows that. And what is the use of clinging to that which is there no more? How ignorance is that? It begins little by little in samsara, see, as avijja is there, accumulated from moment to moment in samsara. So the understanding of that which is now appearing cannot just directly arising, but it needs more conditions like hearing, considering, and thinking, remembering. See, even sanya cetasika, vipallasa, or not vipallasa. But when we use the word not vipallasa, what does it mean? Not just thinking with the eye, see, more than just we think, but it can be object of study. There is sanya now. No understanding of it as no one, no thing, but it's there, unknown, see. But right understanding can understand whatever is real at that very moment by conditions. Even we heard about sanya many, many times. It's now there. It's now performing its function. Just remember and mark each word, each meaning. See? So the world goes very, very fast. That's why it's so difficult to understand the truth of it. But to understand that we begin to understand what is there in the beginning and then keep on understanding better and better about the truth, it will bring the understanding and the thought to this moment. Just thinking and then more than that, directly experience that which think or whatever, depending on conditions. See, this is the only way to let go wrong understanding. And what is now the understanding of this is the path, Makha Satya, leading to enlighten the truth of whatever is now. Otherwise, no way. All in darkness all the time.
Mm. 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 Thank you, Ajahn. Thank you.
My great pleasure for anyone who understands how much ignorance and how it's a long way to experience the truth by conditions. And the parami or paramis are conditioned for the developing of understanding with viriya and khanti to understand satya. The truth is now, see, each moment, whatever is there, the truth is there, not known yet. That's why there must be pariyati before other level, which cannot start or begin without the intellectual understanding.
Thank you, Ajahn.
I think it's about time, Sawadika, Jan.